So it's confirmed Michael Hunter will be taking on Sergey Kuzmin in September. So I'm going to just do a fight review on this. But before I do a fight review on this, I wanted to, because obviously I've been watching Hunter for a long time. You know, he's a very good heavyweight. Obviously come up from cruiserweight, only lost to Usyk. And I've always said that Hunter gives the top heavyweights problem just because of his strengths and his movement and what I believe are his best attributes. So I'm going to first go on Sergey Kuzmin's background, and then I'll go on to Hunter's, and then we'll go on to the fight, and then I'll go on to my prediction, and we'll see what happens. So Sergey Kuzmin, I first remember him when he fought Malcolm Tan. Malcolm Tan came in shape. You guys might know who Malcolm Tan is. He's the guy that took a white tap when he went to his American debut. Put him down with a body shot and just got him out of there quickly. But this is when Michael Tan was a bit more fresh. I mean, I wouldn't say he was better. I mean, he was probably obviously younger, a bit more fresher. Yeah, Tan came in shape. He came in about 235. He showed a lot of heart. Kuzmin's right hands were getting through. And obviously Kuzmin's good at coming forward and blinding you with the jab. I mean, obviously in this fight he was really good at doing it. Because he obviously was hurting Tan. He dropped him 4 times. And obviously since then, you know, Michael Tan's really just been worse than the journeyman. You know, he's got bashed up by Dylan, obviously, and other people. But that particularly was the fight I saw Sergey Kuzmin come in and really see that he was like a counter-punching pressure fighter. He's quite tenacious, you know. He's quite aggressive. He throws a lot of good right hands, and he seemed powerful. He seemed good. He didn't, you know, he seemed relentless, and that's what I liked about him. The second fight I remember watching him was Amir Mansour. First couple of rounds, Mansour was more busy, and he was giving something that I haven't seen in all the other fights. He showed a bit of movement against Kuzmin, so I wanted to see how Kuzmin's feet would hack to somebody like a Mansour. This was when Mansour was fresh, he was ready, and he was moving around, and I gave him the first couple rounds to him, the first round. But when it was starting to drift off, Kuzmin was obviously pressuring, he was getting in, and it looked like Mansour was mentally kind of drifting off a little bit. You know, he seemed to get caught a couple of times. He was still moving, using the ring quite well, but Kuzmin showed good counter-punching, and obviously the fight got stopped in the 4th, was it? I can't remember. I think it was a cut on Kuzmin's eye, and I think that's a no contest actually on the record. But yeah, he got his eye cut and the fight had to get stopped. But yeah, in that fight I saw a little bit of holes in Kuzmin's game. You know, he wasn't doing good, you know, against somebody who was as agile and moving around. He seemed a little bit flat-footed. He didn't seem with the same bounce he had in the Malcolm Tan fight. So he seemed to, you know, get caught. He seemed to be a bit sloppy in elements. And the fight that I really saw a bit of a change in the holes in Kuzmin was the David Price fight. Sergey Kuzmin defeats David Price by the 4th round retirement because of a torn bicep. But Price fought tough. You know, Price was actually outboxing Kuzmin relatively easy in the first couple rounds, and it's probably the best I've seen Price box since maybe the Dave Allen fight he boxed quite well as well, but in this fight he boxed exceptionally well. He was landing a lot of good right hands. Kuzmin took them, so he showed a good chin. Obviously Price was pulled out, and when he was pulled out, the momentum was really on Price because he was really frustrating Kuzmin. Kuzmin looked just baffled a little bit and just looked a little bit uncomfortable. Obviously, you know, Price stopped it, but again, obviously Price didn't have the best stamina back then and still doesn't really, you know, we know Pricey, but obviously Price was pulled out. Kuzmin was obviously getting out boxed, and this is the 3rd time since the Malcolm Tan fight where I'm starting to see more holes in Kuzmin. You know, again, he's still undefeated, he's still getting the win, he's getting the W no matter what. But the last 2 Ws, you know, Price and Mansour were, you know, just, you know, it wasn't really a conclusive win. Do you know what I mean? So his next fight was against Joey Dawejko. And this was probably the worst and best he's kind of looked. That makes sense. So it was an interesting fight. Joey Dawejko, he brought it. You know, Joey Dawejko is the kind of fighter that is hard to look good against. You know, the guys such as who's Dawejko fought? He's fought Baby Miller. I'm sure he's fought other guys. I can't remember. I can't know off the top of my head, but yeah, he drew with Miller, which people seem to forget. He drew with Miller. I haven't seen that fight, but I heard he drew with Miller. Jarrell Pharmacy Miller he drew with. But yeah, Dawejko put the pressure, and it's one of the things stylistically I thought that this would be a difficult fight to look good against. And obviously, he was getting caught. It was, Dwayne was put under pressure. He was trying to put under pressure, so some of the rounds were subjective. I think what changed it for the judges and for what I think just pushed him to edge the fight was the body work from Kuzmin. Kuzmin in this fight showed a bit more discipline. He showed a bit more different variety of punches to his game. He showed a bit more of the left hooks to the body, the counter punching, the bobbing and weaving. And the last 2 rounds, he just basically, he showed a bit more of a boxing brain more than Dwayne, and that's what won in the fight. He double jabbed near the end, and the last 2 rounds were the decisive fight because it was a split decision win. So it was the last 2 rounds that really got Kuzmin the win. So it wasn't the best fight, it wasn't the best performance from Kuzmin, but he got the win. And I have to emphasize, the last 3 fights, he's got the W, but it hasn't been a clean W. It's been a very messy, and you can pick holes in it. So that's his last fight since coming into the Hunter fight. So that's kind of like Kuzmin's background and coming into this fight. With Hunter, obviously we talked about Hunter. He got outboxed by Usyk, and then he got stopped in the last round. Usyk was piling on the pressure in the last round, so he showed his toughness, Hunter. He put on a good display. He troubled Usyk. He gave Usyk plenty of trouble. It wasn't an easy fight for Usyk to win. Don't get it twisted. Usyk got the win, but it wasn't an easy fight for him. He had to fight for that win, and he got the win. That's the only loss on Hunter's record at cruiserweight. Since he's been at heavyweight, I think he's had 7 fights at heavyweight. He's won all of them. His notable best fight, I would say, was against Baconi, because I think Baconi was favourite in that fight to win, because obviously he was a bit of a hype. There's a lot of hype on Baconi. Him being, the big, the next big thing, him having a big punch and all that. You know how it goes. Them calling him the African Prince, and a lot of these Prince of Scotland and all that. A lot of talk was on Baconi, and Hunter was really just a cruise guy coming up at cruiserweight, looking a bit fleshy, thinking, yeah, it's a good name on the record, and Baconi's team thought this would be an easy sweep. And no, Baconi was terrible in this fight. He looked terrible. It was a good fight, but it was terrible. Technique-wise, he was terrible. Hunter basically moved, and the speed was amazing in terms of the difference. Hunter was just in and out. He was hitting Baconi with right hands and left hooks to the body. He was bashing him up, to be honest. Baconi was just coming forward, taking licks to the face. I heard he had an injury on his arm, and the corner still continued him to fight. So he was just getting bashed up, to be honest. And in the 10th round, the referee stopped it. And I think that's Hunter's most notable win to the hands of the casuals, maybe. He's had some good wins at cruiserweight, but at heavyweight, that's probably his most notable win. So obviously, if he beats Kuzmin, I would say that would be his best win, because Kuzmin's undefeated. He's beaten a couple guys, but again, it's debatable whether his best win could probably be Kuzmin or Baconi. Hunter or Kuzmin or Baconi. Sorry, but it's gonna be an interesting fight. It's gonna be a real chess match, in my opinion, because it depends how Kuzmin comes in this, because again, he's had a lot of close, weird fights. He hasn't really knocked out anybody in a while. Hunter's not the most powerful. I don't see Hunter really hurting. He might hurt him, but I don't see Hunter knocking Kuzmin out. Kuzmin's a natural heavyweight. He's big, he's chunky, he can come forward, he's showing a decent chin. It's going to be an interesting fight. I think Hunter's going to have to use the ring quite well. He's going to have to look at the Mansour fight and see that Kuzmin had trouble early on adjusting to the movement of Mansour. And I do believe that Hunter's got better feet. He's got better movement and punching at the same. When someone can punch and move at the same time, Hunter's better at that. I think he's got much better hands. He's got quicker hands, and I think the speed is going to be a difference. I think Hunter's going to show a lot of the speed. Hunter against Baconi, what I noticed, showed poor stamina. Not poor stamina, because again, it was 10 rounds. He stopped in the 10th round. But I could see noticeably that Hunter was slowing down and needed to take breaths. Whereas in cruiserweight, when he was at 195 pounds, because he came in 213, and that 13 pounds was just fat. It was just fat. But I'm assuming he's going to come in around the same weight against Kuzmin. If Kuzmin can keep the kind of pressure that he does keep in some of his fights, in his early fights, and can push Hunter, can he get the stoppage or nick a decision? I think it's going to be a close decision fight. I wouldn't be surprised if it's a split decision between one of the two fighters. I am going to go with it as a prediction. Hunter split decision win. I think it's going to be a close fight. I think Hunter's going to have to I think Hunter might just be able to outwork him. I don't think either one of them is going to get the stoppage. If there was to be a stoppage, I think it will be Hunter stopping Kuzmin, because Kuzmin, I think Hunter's just a bit too mobile to be getting stopped, and he's just a bit too. He's had the tough fights. He's had the U6, you know. He's had big fights, whereas Kuzmin hasn't really had a big fight. He hasn't really been hurt and pressured in the whole fight. I mean, you know, if he's struggling against Joey Deweyko, then he's gonna have a tough fight against Hunter. But I'm expecting Hunter to win on points and to just pressure him. You know, I wouldn't be surprised with a late stoppage, but Kuzmin is the tough guy, and he's gonna come to win, and he's gonna come forward, and he's gonna be relentless. But yeah, I'm gonna predict a Hunter split decision points win against Kuzmin. I'm looking forward to the fight. It's gonna be a good fight. And yeah, I think it's a decent fight. Don't get me twisted, it's a 50-50. 100% is a 50-50 fight. Any man can win on the points. In my prediction, you know, I wouldn't be surprised if Kuzmin wins on points. I would be surprised if Kuzmin stops Hunter. I will be surprised with that, because Hunter is a natural cruiserweight and is quite mobile. We've seen Kuzmin have trouble against guys that are quick on their feet. But yeah, I am concerned about Hunter's stamina. But again, I just feel like he might be able to outwork Kuzmin in the 12 rounds, and I think it's going to be a decent fight. Yeah, but let me know what you guys think about the fight. I'm out.